we gonna keep this thing moving, y'all. We got that money topic. Y'all know I always gotta. This is the last topic of the day too, y'all. I always gotta end us off with a little bit of money, because at the end of the day, that's what That's what we. You can't be the richest Steve in Atlanta without a money. I think I still can, because I can be richer than you in the people I know. I could be richer than you in my faith. I could be richer than you in the people that love me. All that stuff. You could be richer than somebody in all those things. You could be happy in life with all those things. It doesn't have to have the money. But money definitely makes it easier. I don't care what nobody say. Money definitely make it easier. So we always end it off with the money. And today we got 10 money rules to build life-changing wealth by Ramas. Am I saying this right? Ramaswamy. Am I saying that right? No, I'm talking about Vivek. I forgot this dude's name. He'll give it to us, but it's good stuff. Let's go. We're going to get right into it.
One of the keys to building a rich life is to create a few simple guidelines around what to do with your money. Think about it. On any given day, you're faced with 100 financial decisions. Should I buy this type of chicken or that type? Should I pay off my debt earlier or not? Should we buy a house or rent? What you want to do is build your personal philosophy on money so you can narrow down all your options and have an easy way to make these big decisions. I call them money rules. And I want to share my 10 money rules. These are my actual rules that I use to make big decisions with my money. And I want to remind you before you watch, these are just my rules. Some of them are going to sound weird. Some of them are even going to sound totally ridiculous. And that's fine, because when you create your own money rules, they should fit you like a handmade glove. So here are my 10 money rules. Number 1, always have 1 year of emergency fund cash. Now, typically, people in the personal finance world recommend 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund, right? For me, I prefer to be more conservative. I want to know that if something really bad happens, I have extra cash available to tide things over. You saw this during COVID when tons of people were laid off or lost their jobs, and they were panicking because some people did not have an emergency fund. Now, for me, I choose to have a larger than typical emergency fund. And one quick thing is, when I say cash, I don't mean there's money sitting around in my closet. Please don't try to rob me. It's in a bank account. It's liquid. It's just sitting there. I don't really care about the interest on it. In case I ever need it, I know it's there. One last thing, if a 1 year emergency fund seems extreme to you,
It seems very.
just adjust the numbers. Start with a month, work to 3 months, maybe 6 months. It's up to you, but this is just my own rule for myself. Rule
Number 1, have an emergency fund. He said 1 year, but that's for him. But he said customize it, y'all. You have to have an emergency fund. For me right now, y'all know I follow the baby steps. I'm followed by Dave Ramsey, the baby steps. And this guy's name is Ramit, y'all. Ramit. I had to go think of it. Ramit. Y'all see how close it is? Ramit. Have an emergency fund is number 1. Like I said, I'm following, so I have $2,000 as my emergency fund right now while I'm getting debt out of there, and it's work. But after that, I for sure will build me up an emergency fund that I feel like will have me feel safe if something was to ever happen, just in case. And it will be, liquid. Actually have liquid cash where you feel safe just in case anything, an emergency ever comes up. They normally say 3 to 6 months. I've been hearing it get larger and larger. I heard 3 months. I heard 6 months. Like he said, the way he feels, a whole year emergency fund, and that's a lot. That is definitely a lot. But having an emergency fund is for sure number 1.
number 2, I save 10% and I invest 20% of gross income minimum. Let me explain this. In my conscious spending plan, I talk about saving 5 to 10% and I talk about investing 5 to 10%. A lot of people go, Ramit, why are you saying one thing and doing another? Well, let me tell you why. At a minimum, you should be saving and investing 5 to 10%. As you make more money, you should increase those numbers, especially depending on what type of lifestyle you want to live. For me, I know that true wealth is created by investing. So I'm aggressive about taking money and investing it. That means that I've been investing since I was 14 years old, and as I make more, I invest more. The key here is that I want to live a rich life today and a richer life tomorrow. Now, a lot of people will not be able to save 10% of gross and invest 20% of gross. That's a lot of money. You typically have to have quite a high income in order to be able to do that. But if you can't do that, adjust it, right? Make it work for you. At a minimum, maybe your money rule can be invest and save 5 to 10% of net income, as I recommend in the CSP. Start where you can, but just do one thing. Every single year, add 1% to your savings rate and 1% to your investment rate. That single decision alone will be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to you.
Rule number 2, y'all, was yourself comes first, y'all. 10% to yourself comes first. I was telling y'all, all these money rules, bro, they really cycle. If you know them, a lot of people say the same things. It's literally just customizing it to your life. 10% to yourself first. What he said, he did 10% to investing and 10% to saving. So for me right now, I'm close to that. I'm really close to that. Not really on the saving part. I put 10% to myself. That's period. 10% to myself. I am at a higher percentage than that, but like he said, start somewhere. You need to start somewhere. And for me, the minimum is 10% to yourself first. Before anything else, 10% to yourself. It just, and once you get into that habit, y'all, you don't miss that money. You don't miss that money. Because you learn to live on less. You automatically just learn to live on it. It automatically comes out at the beginning of each month. That 10% to yourself, it works beautifully.
Rule number 3, be able to pay in full for large expenses such as a wedding, a honeymoon, and a house. Can I please talk about this? Because the internet always goes berserk whenever I post it. People go, Ramit, are you saying you want to pay in cash for a full house? Who could do that? I go, well, some people can, clearly, because there's a lot of people who pay all cash for a house, but that's not the point. Years ago, I had a mentor. He took me out to lunch one day, and he was talking about money, and he goes, I have a no debt policy in my household. And I thought to myself, that must be nice. And I realized over time, as my career progressed, that actually is nice. And it actually takes a lot of discipline, because as you earn more money and as your net worth grows, it's very tempting to spend money and take on debt. Now, if you want to take on debt thoughtfully, okay, that's one thing. But it's a strong point of view to say we have a no debt policy in our household. When I was in my early 20s, I knew that one day I would get married. I hadn't even met my wife at that point, but I knew that marriage was important and having a beautiful Indian wedding was also important.
Ramit.
So I started saving money before I'd even met her. I also knew that we'd want to go on an amazing honeymoon. Started saving money for that, for a ring, all those things. Same thing for a house. We don't own a house by choice today. Someday we'll buy a house. We've been saving for that for years. Now here's the key. When I go to make these large purchases, I don't want cost to be the first reason to make a decision, the second, or even the fifth. I want to put enough money aside that cost is not the primary determinant. Now, is it realistic for most people to buy a house and pay for it in full? No, that's why it's my rule. Are we going to get a house and pay all cash? I don't know, maybe not, depends on interest rates. But I want to know that we could. That is why this is one of my money rules, and that is why this rule is probably unrealistic for most people. But the principle, looking ahead, saving for something before it happens, that principle will never go out of style.
Number 3, that no debt lifestyle. Like you said, paying for things in advance. The thing that I have learned about this, y'all, is when you pick up debt, you have to look at over the long term, you actually pay more. That's the thing behind having debt. Especially with, I like to use the example because I had the student loans thing. With student loans, you literally look at that balance if you're paying the minimum, you will always be in debt because that interest compounds on top of what you have to pay. If you look at your statement for your student loans, I hope you are looking at your statement, you will see a little column that says, for me it's little right now, only because I've been paying it off for so long. But if you wait, trust me, it will continue to build. It says you have $13 accrued this month in interest. So if you're not paying it off, or you're only paying the minimum, $13 get added. Yeah, $13 more each month gets added. And the longer you take to pay, the more interest that you occur. That's why they say don't do debt. Because in the long run, you actually pay more for that purchase. But like he said, it's not feasible all the time to do that. So for me, in my life, I just try to pay it off as fast as possible. I know one thing that has made me sick, y'all, is my car decides to break down at the beginning of 2024. You know, I started this whole thing. I haven't been saving up for a car, so there's no way I'm going to pay it off in general. So now it's like, yes, Steve, you're going to have to pick up some debt. I literally had no choice. And I've been in a cycle of car breaking down, gotta repair it, car breaking down, gotta repair it, for like, I would say years now. At least 3 years since I got out of college. Gotta fix this, alright, gotta fix that, alright. I'm tired of it, so I'm about to go do car, and I'm gonna get something that I enjoy. So obviously I'm picking up debt, and I will explain that whole story later. Y'all hear that whole story later. But I gotta get a new car. So that just is what it is. Do I wish I had money set aside the way I could just pay this stuff off? Yes, for sure. Because I know I've already done the calculations. The quicker I pay this off, basically, the less money I will pay for this purchase. But if I was to wait at the term of my loan, I would pay almost double for the same purchase. That, you know, if I would have saved up, it would have been cheaper.
That brings me to rule number 4. I never question spending on books, appetizers, or donating to charity. You know, one of the things I love about rules is creating rules that are permissive, not restrictive. You may have heard of Ramit's book buying rule, which says anytime I see a book that I'm even remotely interested in, I just buy it. If I'm thinking about it, I buy it. I don't waste 5 seconds debating, equivocating. Even one idea makes it worth it. That's the same thing for this rule. You might be wondering, how come in the last rule I'm talking about something as big as buying a house, and now I've shrunk it to talk about appetizers? Well, it's personally meaningful to me. When I was a kid, we rarely ate out, and when we did, we never got appetizers. So now to be able to sit down at a restaurant and to be able to order appetizers, that alone feels magical. To be able to say, ooh, I like both of those, I'm gonna get both. That feels even more magical. And the best thing of all, when I'm eating out with somebody else, I just say, you know what? Here's my rule. Anything you see that looks good on the menu, just order it. That is truly a rich life for me. So when it comes to appetizers, I gave myself unlimited spending. When it comes to donating to a charity, unlimited spending, because my wife and I ran a charity fundraiser, and it was incredibly meaningful when our friends donated for the cause. So the question I have for you is, what's your thing? What's that one thing in your life where you want to give yourself unlimited spending? Maybe it's gardening. And your rule might say, gardening is so important to me that I'm going to give myself unlimited spending on gardening supplies, flowers, sunblock, manicures, whatever. Pick the thing that you want to give yourself true abundance for, and trust that you will not go absolutely crazy when it comes to spending.
That's rule number 4, y'all. You know, find somewhere that you want to spend money on. The thing to me in this debt loss journey that I hate, that Dave Ramsey always says, is you need to live on beans and rice and rice and beans. that's just, it doesn't make sense to me at all. Life is not promised to any of us. So there needs to be a portion where you actually enjoy your money, where it's not all restrictive. And I've been told this, as well. Enjoy some. Like, you can relax. Yes, stay to your principles. Every now and then, though, it is okay to enjoy your money. You've earned this. You've earned the right to actually enjoy the fruits of your labor. Like, enjoy it every now and then. It doesn't all have to be, like he said, restrictive all the time. Enjoy your money. So have things in your life that you enjoy doing, that you actually put your money to, because in the long run, it will make you more successful because you enjoy doing that thing. That's why they tell you, a lot of times in your career, pick something that you love doing because you'll be able to do it longer. Let's go.
Rule number 5, I fly business class on flights over 4 hours. Now, this rule is simply because I want to and I can afford it. And that's what a permissive, abundant money rule looks like. I didn't fly business class growing up. I didn't even fly growing up, hardly ever. But eventually, when I started flying in my early 20s, I remember walking down the aisle and I would scoff. All these people, why would they sit in the front and pay 4 times when we're all getting to the same place? Ha ha ha, they're wasting their money. What I wish I had done, instead of disparaging them, was to get curious. I call that the D to C principle. I wish I would have said, why would someone pay 4 times the price to sit towards the front of the plane? I wonder what they're getting out of this. Is there something that they're getting out of it that I can't see? And over time, of course, I realized, it feels better and you have more security. Your bags you're going to have space for your bags. And ultimately, just if you can easily afford it and you want to, and you're hitting all your savings and investing numbers, why not? That's one of the key principles about money. You don't have to justify your purchases to anybody else. If you're hitting your numbers and you decide this thing is important to me, go for it.
Dude.
I also like having a simple, clear rule. So I don't have to debate with myself. I don't even have to tell my assistant, oh, well, I feel like this should be coach and this should be economy plus. No, it's just a simple rule. If the flight's over 4 hours, business class. Boom. I love simple, clear rules. Yours may not be business class. It may not be economically practical, or you may just not care enough. But think about what your clear and simple rules could be. Remember, these are my personal money rules. You can adapt them or you can completely ignore them. It's up to you.
I'm not going to lie to y'all. Have y'all ever rode business class, first class, plus, not flown the Spirit Airlines Frontier, actually flown Delta? That joint be nice, y'all. It do. It definitely encourage you. What do I need to do so I can stay here, though? That's what do I need to do so that I can stay here? And one thing that I like about his money rules and what he's actually teaching us to do is create rules in there that add to your life. Like, it doesn't always have to take away. Like, all right, I need 10% here. Things where you enjoy it. Like he said, if you see a book, if you see an appetizer that you enjoy, I'm going to go get it. That's this for him. He going to go get it. If the flight over 4 hours, automatically, I'm going to do it. Because having money rules isn't always about restricting. It can be very freeing sometimes. Because you already know, this is my money rule. This is the rule I follow. So it's going to happen pretty much no matter what.
Rule number 6, I buy the best and I keep it for as long as possible.
That is it.
Now, everybody kind of intuitively loves this until we actually talk about what specific things they buy. They're like, Ramit, I totally agree. You got to buy the best to keep it for life. I go, open up your closet. It's all Uniqlo. That looks horrible. It's all pilling, and they buy new stuff every single month. Oh, but Ramit, it's all about the best. Listen, when I talk about buying the best, I'm talking about the things that are important to me. For me, it's clothes. Yes. It's things I use every single day. Those are important. For example, the little scoop that I use to scoop out coffee. I got a nice wooden spoon from Japan. I love it. I'm going to use that thing for the rest of my life. Another example, my iPhone. Whenever I get an iPhone, I just have a simple rule. Just get the one with the most storage space. My car. I bought a Honda Accord when I graduated from college. I've driven that thing for 19 years. Okay, now, am I saying a Honda Accord is the best car? Yes, I am. Especially the LX V6. For all my Honda aficionados, the three of you out there, you know what I'm talking about. And clothes, including the Vicuña sweater, which I talk about in this video, that actually costs more than the car. So some of these items, if you buy the best and you truly keep them forever, can actually be passed on for generations. Another reason is why I buy shoes and then I get them repaired instead of going and just buying a bunch of brand new shoes. Now, what I would recommend for you, we can't afford the best of everything, but we can have a principle that for these 2 or 3 areas in our lives, this is important to us, and we're gonna buy the best, and importantly, we're gonna keep those things for a long time.
Yeah, the biggest thing I picked up from there is actually how long that you're keeping something. Because a lot of us, we will get some cheap clothes. We go on to ASOS, Shein, and it only lasts you one season. And now next thing you know, you got to buy it again. And buy it again. And buy it again. When over time, if you would have gotten that more expensive thing and been able to keep it for longer, that's a way better purchase than just buying all that filler that you throw out. So if it is important to you, don't feel like, you can't have that. Get it and enjoy it.
That brings me to rule number 7, no limit for spending on personal development. Well, listen, I'm in the personal development field. I help people live a rich life. I talk about money, careers, business, and psychology. Of course, I want to buy personal development. I want to improve myself, which I want to consistently do, and I want to learn how other people are doing it. So in my opinion, just for my own money, my own rule is no limit. If I see something that looks interesting, whether it's an online course, whether it's a personal trainer, which has totally transformed my life, whether it's a posture coach, like I described and why I spent money on that, those things have totally changed my life. As you can imagine, for somebody who's in the personal development field, this is very meaningful for me. Now, the no limit part of this rule might scare you. Fine. It might not be practical for you. Also fine. You can adapt it for your own life. Maybe it's a cap of $100 a month on fitness classes. Maybe it's $1,000 a year on continuing education. Again, whatever makes sense for you. And if this rule just doesn't apply and it doesn't make you feel something, ignore it.
You don't have to
Rule number 8.
Yep, that's it. You don't have to have it. If at the end of the day, you don't have to. I think personal development is definitely something to invest in, and it is good to always seek personal improvement. So, personal development definitely for him it fits. Like you said, change those rules. For me, I don't put as much money into it as I feel like I could, but it's not, I still have limits on the amount of money that I'm bringing in and the things that I'm spending it on. So I can't have it unlimited like he can. So for me personally, I would put it down to, like he said, probably $100 a month or something like that. A little less. As time goes on, of course, that thing can increase, and we might go limitless. We might go limitless on something else. It's not, like he said, we can change the rules a little bit.
I love this one. I earn enough to work only with people I respect and like. You ever work at a company where you have a meeting coming up with somebody tomorrow and you just look at your calendar and you see their name and you're just like, and you just start sweating. You're like, ah! You could feel it. You don't want to have that meeting because you don't like them. You don't respect them. Every time you talk to them, you walk out of there feeling worse. A lot of people are like, wait, that's how I feel about some of my friends. That's a sign. And I decided long ago that in my company, I'm going to work with people that I respect and that I like. I don't want to be miserable at work. Work is where I spend a lot of time and it's my company. So what that meant for my life is that I would never stay in a situation purely for money if I didn't like and respect the people I was working with. Now, I want you to notice that as we're getting towards the end of these 10 money rules, they're becoming a little less transactionally focused and much more focused on a rich life. And that's by design. The first rule is very tactical, 10%, 20%. But as we zoom out, we talk about what a rich life really means. All right, I have two.
See, like you said, that like I said, a rich life does not always have to be money. It can be some of the personal things that you feel on the inside, which is definitely something that we all can strive for. I wouldn't want to work with people I don't like neither. We've all had those people where, for me, the biggest thing is that, like, in school, you don't really enjoy working with them, but y'all are forced to work together now. So the whole time is, the most money in the world would not make me want to work with you. So why work with you? Like, come on.
2 more money rules left to share, but before we get to that, if you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do me a favor, subscribe so that I can keep making these money videos for you. Now on to rule number 9, I prioritize my time outside the spreadsheet. There's a lot of spreadsheet nerds, including 22-year-old Ramit Sethi, who love to optimize life. Let me optimize my Excel sheets. Let me run the Monte Carlo. Let me calculate this projection. But what happens if there's a 2.6% instead of a 2.8% withdrawal rate? Stop it. At a certain point, you know your numbers. You've won. You've set your money up using chapter 5 of my book. You've got your conscious spending plan. Everything's flowing. Stop optimizing and turn the page. A rich life is lived outside the spreadsheet.
There you go.
So what does that mean? I knew that for a guy like me, an optimizer, I needed to create a rule to get away from my computer and to go outside and live my rich life. That for me means staying fit. It means traveling. It means seeing friends and family and loved ones. A rich life is lived outside the spreadsheet. And that brings me to
life is lived outside, y'all. That is period. You have to get out and actually see and do things. You do. And it is worth taking time away from the money. We are all not promised tomorrow. This is probably one of the most positive money outlooks ever. Like, we'll go to, let's get number 10. Let's get
number 10. Marry the right person.
Marry the right person.
This one
is beautiful.
Seems so obvious if you've been married, but it's important. It's so important. And that is why you see it in the position it is in, at the highest level of the last part of my money rules. The person you marry is one of the biggest financial decisions you will ever make.
Preach.
That person will affect your earnings. That person will affect where you live, what you eat, your family structure. They will affect everything. And not just the big things, they will affect the way that you talk about money and feel about money for the rest of your life. So important to have somebody who you are values aligned with. Now, that person might come from a different financial position. They might have a different amount of income or debt.
Try to say I'm
That's
a
not as important.
You don't
as,
know me.
Do they think about
Crypto
money?
trapper,
Are they willing to
I'm not a
talk about
podcaster.
money like you? If you can find a match there, then you can learn the technicalities and build a rich life vision together.
I do this on the side,
when it came to my relationship with my wife, I knew that we wanted to talk about money together. It would have been very easy for me to just be the money guy. No, I wanted us to develop our own rules and our own process for managing money together. All right, now that I've shared my 10...
Ramit, that was a great list. I like this list. And I'm going to tell you why I like this list. Number 10 for sure, though. I think it's definitely important of who you marry. That's one of the big things for me. Like, how does my girl manage money? Before I even made her my girl, how does she manage money? Because it affects your whole life. How does she feel about this topic? How does she feel about that topic? Before I even made my shorty my girl, I'm like, how do you think? Because I know it will affect me for the rest of life. Now let's talk about this list. This has been one of the most positive outlook lists I've seen in a long time. It's totally different to me than the thing that Dave Ramsey teach, because Dave Ramsey always teaches, like the worst is going to happen. He always teaches the worst is going to happen. You need to get out of debt right now because the worst is going to happen to you. And this list has it feels very opposite. It's very positive. Live your life outside of it. One says live life outside, the other says rice and beans and rice until you're able to do that. This one says enjoy the money as you input these rules. It's totally different. It's totally different. And that's what I enjoy about this list. It gives a more positive outlook. It gives a more balanced outlook of how money actually should be in your life. Because I've gone through times of, I need to focus. I need to cut this out. I need to cut that out. The numbers is not getting hit. The numbers is wrong. It's not happening. I've literally had to sit down, like, bro, chill out some. Chill out. Like, is this really how life is supposed to be? You're not even enjoying this thing. You enjoy nothing about this right now. So why even do it? The future is not promised to you. You can be here today and gone tomorrow. And life outside of that still has to go on. So while you're here, at least, yes, set up things properly for your future. At the same time, though, you need to enjoy your life and keep some balance. I appreciate Ramit for this. I appreciate him for this because he's giving a more balanced outlook in life. But one thing for him, definitely, that he started early. Like he said, he was 22 when he started. So starting earlier definitely makes that path a lot easier. A lot easier. And we're going to end it off with that. If you here with me, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment on your way out. That helped me out. Leave a comment on the way out. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope y'all got something from this.